The morning light returns softly, brushing over rooftops, quiet fields, and the small paths that wind through the village. The air is calm, carrying the faint, earthy scent of soil and dew. Even in the simplest of meals, there are small touches that bring flavor and comfort. Salt is one of these touches. It is rare, precious, carried carefully, measured by memory rather than scale. A small pinch may be added to a pot of grains or vegetables, enough to enhance, never to overpower. Herbs grow nearby. Some are planted deliberately in small gardens. Some are gathered from wild patches just beyond the village. Sage, thyme, parsley, and others, each has its own gentle scent. Leaves are picked slowly, stems removed carefully. Sometimes herbs are chopped finely. Sometimes they are added whole to a cooking pot, removed later. Their flavor is soft, subtle, not meant to startle the senses, but to enrich quietly, steadily over time. People know which herbs are for the morning porridge, which for the midday pot, which for the evening meal. They are not written down, not counted, remembered instead. Small amounts are used, always enough, never wasted. Even the stems or the outer leaves may find a purpose, softened in water, added to a meal, or fed to animals. Other forms of flavor exist as well. Small portions of smoked meat or fish preserved with care. A little cheese aged gently. Dried fruits sweetened by the sun. All are added slowly, in quiet measure. Meals remain simple but enriched. Grains and vegetables form the base, bread or porridge soft and steady, and the small touches, the salt, the herbs, the preserved foods, bring a gentle depth to what is eaten. There is no rush to taste, no hurry to finish. Each bite is savored slowly. The fire continues to burn low, steady. The pot sits above the embers, simmering quietly. Outside, the wind may move lightly through the trees. The sun rises higher, warming the earth. Children learn quietly, watching how herbs are picked, how salt is measured, how subtle flavors are added without haste. Evening comes slowly. The fire glows softly in the hearth. The last meal of the day is prepared gently. Salt is added carefully, herbs sprinkled lightly, everything mixed with care and calm attention. And when the meal is done, the remaining food is stored patiently. Some for the next day, some preserved for the season. Nothing is hurried, nothing wasted. Everything moves in the quiet rhythm of life. Outside, the village becomes still. Paths empty. The river continues its soft flow. The trees sway gently in the night breeze. The embers settle into glowing embers. The home holds warmth and calm. And so the day ends quietly. The taste of the food lingers softly, gentle and comforting. The rhythm of preparation, of cooking, of eating, all continues without rush, without strain, without hurry. And as the night deepens and the stars appear faintly in the sky, the story drifts forward, slowly, softly, calmly. The first light of morning spreads once more, soft and pale, brushing slowly over the village and the fields beyond. The air carries a quiet chill, touched by the warmth of the earth, and the paths remain empty, waiting for the gentle footsteps that will soon move along them. Inside the homes, the fire is awakened again, not suddenly, not sharply, but with calm attention. Ashes are stirred, a few dry twigs placed carefully above the embers. The fire grows slowly, glowing steadily. It is the center of daily life. The hearth is not just for warmth, it is where the meals of the day are prepared. Breakfast is quiet, a simple portion of grains, perhaps softened in warm water, or a small piece of yesterday's bread. Sometimes a little milk is added, or a few berries gathered carefully from the bushes nearby. The meal is taken slowly, each bite deliberate, each sip of water or milk taken with care. Outside, the village is still calm. The fields are empty. The wind moves softly through the trees, brushing against leaves in gentle, rhythmic motion. Once the morning meal is finished, the day begins to move quietly. Some people go to the fields, others to the forest, others along the river. Each journey is steady, deliberate. The midday meal is prepared slowly. The pot is placed above the fire, water added. Grains, vegetables, and sometimes small portions of meat are combined. The cooking is not rushed. The fire is tended gently. The food stirred carefully. Children may sit nearby, learning without instruction, absorbing the rhythm of life. The smell of cooking rises softly, filling the home, a gentle reminder that the day continues steadily. When the meal is finished, it is eaten slowly, with no hurry. Hands move steadily, eyes rest calmly. The warmth of the fire and the calmness of the surroundings make every bite gentle, comforting, and slow. As afternoon arrives, the light shifts gradually. Shadows lengthen across the floors and the paths outside. The heat of the day softens, the air grows cooler. Sometimes a small snack is taken, a few berries, a piece of cheese, or bread softened in water. Nothing elaborate, nothing hurried. The fire continues to glow. The pot remains nearby. Everything moves at a steady, deliberate pace. Evening comes slowly. The sun sinks gently behind the trees. Shadows stretch long and quiet across the village and the fields. The last meal of the day is prepared. The fire glows warmly. The pot simmers softly. Grains, vegetables, small portions of meat, herbs, and a pinch of salt are combined with gentle care. The meal is eaten slowly. Children sit quietly, learning the rhythm of preparation, the rhythm of eating, the rhythm of life itself. The remaining food is stored carefully, some preserved for tomorrow, some kept for a few days. The fire settles into glowing embers. The home is calm. The air is quiet. Outside, the paths are empty. The river moves softly in the distance. The trees sway gently in the evening breeze. And as night deepens, the village rests under a blanket of stillness. The rhythm of life continues quietly, steadily, gently. The story drifts forward into the slow unfolding of another day, another calm cycle, always soft, always steady, always unhurried. Morning light stretches slowly over the village once again, soft and pale, touching rooftops, narrow paths, and the wide, gentle fields beyond. The air carries a faint scent of earth, damp with dew, and the world seems still, waiting for the day to begin. In these fields, grain grows quietly. Wheat, barley, rye. Each stalk rises slowly from the soil, bending gently in the breeze. The work of harvest is steady, deliberate, never rushed. Hands move carefully, gathering stalks. Scythes cut slowly through the fields, each stroke deliberate and soft. Bundles are tied gently, stored in small stacks across the field. The rhythm of harvesting is slow, step by step, hand by hand. No noise beyond the soft rustle of grain, the occasional clink of a tied bundle, the distant low murmur of conversation. Once gathered, the grain is carried back to the village. Baskets or sacks rest on shoulders. Hands hold the weight evenly, gently. Inside, the grain is cleaned. Chaff is removed slowly, using sieves or by hand. Every kernel is treated with care. Some of the grain is ground into flour, using stones that turn steadily, slowly, quietly. The motion is smooth, repetitive, soothing. This flour is the basis for many meals: bread, porridge, small cakes for special occasions, always prepared slowly over the steady warmth of the hearth. Children watch, learning without instruction, absorbing the rhythm of work and preparation. Hands may help hold a basket, stir the grain, or carry small portions. The daily meals remain simple. Grain forms the base. Vegetables, herbs, sometimes meat, sometimes fish, are added gently, sparingly. Nothing is wasted. Every part of the harvest finds its purpose. The fire burns steadily throughout the day. The pot sits above the embers. Steam rises softly, carrying the subtle scent of bread baking, of porridge simmering. Meals are eaten slowly, deliberately, each bite savored, each sip of water or milk taken carefully. Outside, the wind moves gently through the fields, bending the grain without breaking it. The sun travels slowly across the sky. The village moves quietly in response. As evening approaches, the fire glows softly in the hearth. The last meal of the day is prepared with care. Grains, vegetables, herbs, perhaps a small portion of preserved meat, are combined gently. The meal is shared quietly. Hands move slowly. Children sit nearby, calm and attentive. The remaining grain is stored carefully. Some flour is kept for bread tomorrow. Some is preserved for the winter months. The fire settles into glowing embers. The home grows calm. The night is still. Paths outside empty. The fields lie quiet, the grain swaying softly in the breeze. The rhythm of life continues, steady, slow, gentle. The harvest has been gathered. The meals are prepared. The day ends quietly, ready for the cycle to begin again tomorrow. And so the story drifts forward, softly, gently, like the slow bending of wheat in the evening wind.
Morning arrives slowly once more. The light moves softly across rooftops, paths, and the quiet village fields. Dew clings to leaves and to the small herbs growing near homes. The air carries the faint smell of soil, of earth recently touched by rain, and the world seems to breathe quietly. Not all food can be eaten immediately. Some must be stored. Some must wait. Preservation is an art of patience. It is quiet, deliberate, and calm. Vegetables, once harvested, may be salted, dried, or stored in cool cellars. Roots are cleaned and buried in dry earth to keep them safe through long months. Grains are placed in sacks or clay containers, sealed carefully to avoid dampness, to wait for future meals. Fruit may be dried in the sun, sliced thin, laid on racks, and left to rest for days. Berries, once soft and ripe,
are carefully preserved in small amounts of water and air, becoming a quiet sweetness for winter. Meat, when available, is smoked gently. Over low embers, the smoke curls softly through the air, carrying warmth and a steady aroma. The process is slow, patient, deliberate. Cheese made from milk is aged steadily. Small rounds rest on shelves, left to grow firm, developing subtle flavors as time passes. Nothing is hurried, nothing is wasted. Every movement is careful, every action deliberate. Children learn quietly by watching. They see how food changes over time, how patience becomes nourishment, and how gentle care preserves life. The fire burns steadily in the hearth, soft and warm. A pot may sit above the embers, containing a simple meal prepared from stored food. Water is added slowly. Grains, herbs, small preserved vegetables or meat, everything combines gently. The steam rises softly, carrying the calm aroma of simmering food. Meals are eaten slowly, deliberately. Each bite carries the knowledge of care and patience. The warmth of food spreads through the body, steadying the mind, quieting the senses. Outside, the wind moves through trees and fields with gentle persistence. The sun travels slowly across the sky, warming the earth, softening shadows, and carrying the day forward. Evening comes quietly. The fire glows low in the hearth. The last meal is prepared with care. Leftovers are stored gently, ready for tomorrow. The village grows still. The fields rest. The wind whispers through trees and grass. The rhythm of life continues calmly, steadily. Grain, vegetables, fruit, meat, milk, water, all preserved, prepared, and consumed with quiet attention. Night deepens. The fire settles into embers. The home holds warmth. Children sleep nearby, peaceful, steady. And the cycle of preparation, preservation, and gentle nourishment moves quietly into the next day, always slow, always calm, always unhurried. The morning light returns, soft and pale, brushing slowly across rooftops, the paths between homes, and the fields that stretch gently into the distance. The air carries a faint scent of earth and dew. The village awakens slowly, quietly, without sudden movement or noise. Milk is one of the gentlest foods. It comes quietly from the animals tended nearby, cows, goats, or sheep. The act of milking is calm and steady. Hands move slowly, fingers careful, drawing the warm liquid without rush. The animals stand still, accustomed to the rhythm of the day, their breathing calm and steady. Fresh milk may be consumed immediately. A small portion, warmed slightly over the fire, were added to porridge. Some milk is transformed gently into cheese, slowly pressed and aged, into butter, churned carefully, rhythmically over many minutes. These simple processes take time, but they require no hurry. The motions are steady, deliberate. The results are nourishing, calm, and reliable. Children may watch, learning the gentle rhythm of handling milk. They may help with stirring, churning, or carrying small portions to the hearth. The fire burns softly in the hearth. The pot rests above it. Grains, vegetables, and a little milk combine slowly, producing a meal that warms the body and comforts the mind. Meals are eaten quietly. Hands move steadily. Eyes rest calmly. Every bite is deliberate, every sip of milk savored. Some milk is stored carefully. Cheese is pressed and left to rest on shelves. Butter is wrapped in leaves or cloth, waiting patiently to be used. Nothing is wasted. Everything moves gently through the day. The afternoon arrives slowly. Light shifts softly. Shadows lengthen. The air carries the faint warmth of the sun and the soft scent of cooking meals. Evening comes quietly. The fire glows low in the hearth. The last meal of the day is prepared with care. Grains, vegetables, a little milk or butter, and perhaps some preserved meat or cheese are combined gently. The meal is shared slowly. Children sit quietly, learning, absorbing the calm rhythm of nourishment. Outside, the village is still, paths empty, the animals rest. The wind moves softly through the trees. The fire settles into embers. The home holds warmth. The night is quiet. And so the day ends with the gentle comfort of milk, of fire, and of simple nourishment. The rhythm of life continues, soft and steady, calm and unhurried. The story drifts forward into the quiet unfolding of another day, another gentle cycle, always slow, always calm, always peaceful. Morning spreads slowly across the village once more. The light brushes gently over rooftops, paths, and fields. The air carries the faint, comforting scent of earth warmed by the sun, and dew glistens on leaves and herbs. The world seems still, quiet, and patient. Bread is a simple companion to daily life. It is prepared slowly, deliberately, with care and attention. Grain is ground gently between stones, producing soft flour. Hands measure small portions carefully, feeling the texture, the weight, the faint scent of earth in every grain. Water is added slowly. Salt, just a pinch, blended evenly. Sometimes herbs or small additions of dried fruit are folded into the dough. The dough is kneaded gently, patiently, each movement soft and steady. The motion is calm, repetitive, comforting. Once shaped, the bread rests. It rises slowly, naturally, under a cloth or in a cool corner. The passage of time itself works quietly, helping the dough to transform. The fire is prepared gently. Embers glow steadily, warm and soft. The bread is placed near them or inside an earthen oven. It cooks slowly, its aroma rising quietly, blending with the faint scent of smoke and warmth in the home. Children watch, learning without words. Hands may help shape small loaves or stir ingredients, feeling the rhythm of calm preparation. When the bread is ready, it is soft, warm, and comforting. The crust is gentle, not harsh. The inside tender, familiar, and steady. Meals are simple. Bread may be eaten with a little milk or butter, or alongside a pot of vegetables. Sometimes cheese or a small piece of preserved meat is added. Every bite is slow, every taste deliberate. The warmth spreads gently through the body, calming the mind, steadying the senses. The afternoon moves quietly. Light shifts softly, shadows stretching across the home and the village. The fire burns steadily, embers glowing warm. Evening approaches without hurry. The last meal is prepared gently. Bread may be sliced or torn slowly. Vegetables, herbs, preserved meat, or small portions of fish are combined carefully. The meal is shared quietly. Hands move slowly. Children sit nearby, calm and attentive. Leftovers are stored carefully. Some bread may be saved for the next morning. Some preserved foods are set aside for days to come. The fire settles into a warm glow. The home is calm. Paths outside are empty. The village rests. The rhythm of life continues quietly. Bread, fire, water, milk, grains, vegetables, all part of the gentle, unhurried cycle of daily nourishment. Night deepens. The story drifts forward slowly, softly, like the warmth of bread coming fresh from the oven, comforting and steady, always calm, always unhurried. Morning light spreads slowly across the village once again, soft and pale, brushing over rooftops, paths, fields, and gardens. Dew clings to leaves and herbs, and the air is faintly cool, calm, and steady. Water is the quiet companion of daily life. It is drawn slowly from wells or small streams, brought gently in clay or wooden containers. Every drop is treated with care. Sometimes water is warmed over the fire, for porridge, for grains, for small teas made from herbs. These drinks are soft, mild, and calming. Nothing sharp, nothing rushed, just warmth and gentle comfort. In some homes, small amounts of ale may be brewed. Fermentation happens slowly, quietly. A gentle bubbling, almost imperceptible, marks the process. The ale is weak, steady, not harsh or bitter. A sip here, a small taste there, a mild addition to meals. Children do not drink it. They watch quietly. They learn by observing, absorbing the calm rhythm of the home. Water, milk, tea, or weak ale, they all move slowly into daily life, always gentle, always steady, always part of the quiet nourishment. Meals are taken slowly. Grains, vegetables, bread, cheese, milk, all accompanied by the soft presence of these liquids. Hands move deliberately. Eyes rest calmly. Every sip is gentle. Every taste deliberate. Outside, the wind moves softly. The sun travels steadily across the sky. Shadows lengthen. Paths remain quiet. Afternoon moves with soft certainty. The fire burns steadily in the hearth. Small meals or snacks may be prepared. A handful of berries, a slice of bread, a soft portion of cheese, combined quietly with water or milk. Evening approaches gently. The last meal of the day is prepared. The fire glows softly. Pots simmer slowly. Every addition, every stir, every pinch is deliberate. The rhythm is calm, comforting, familiar. The meal is eaten quietly. Children sit nearby, calm, learning. Hands move slowly. Eyes rest gently. Leftover liquids are stored carefully. Water kept clean in clay vessels. Milk preserved or used the next morning. Ale set aside for future days. The fire settles into embers. The home holds warmth and calm. The night is still. And as sleep approaches, the rhythm of nourishment continues softly. Water, milk, ale, grains, bread, vegetables, they all move gently through the day, the week, the season. Always steady, always slow, always comforting. The story drifts forward quietly, like the gentle movement of water in the stream, soft and calm, always unhurried. Morning arrives slowly once again. The light spreads softly across the village rooftops, the narrow paths, and the fields where small plants reach gently toward the sun. Dew clings to the leaves, and the air is cool, calm, and steady. Among these plants, legumes grow quietly. Beans, peas, lentils. Small pods cling patiently to stems, hidden among leaves. The work of harvesting is slow. Pods are picked carefully, one by one. Hands move gently, avoiding damage to the plant. The plants themselves sway softly in the breeze, bending but not breaking. Once gathered, legumes are brought home in baskets, every pod handled with care. Some are cooked immediately, washed in water, placed in a pot over the gentle heat of the fire, simmered slowly, quietly, until soft and tender. Others are dried for later use, laid out carefully on racks or mats in the sun, left to rest until they are firm and preserved. The smell of cooking legumes is calm and steady. A subtle warmth rises from the pot, blending with the familiar scent of fire, grains, and herbs. Children watch quietly. They may help pick small pods or carry a basket. They learn the rhythm of patience, the gentle passage of time, and the slow transformation of food. Meals remain simple. Grains form the base. Vegetables, bread, small portions of fish or meat, cheese, and legumes are combined gently. Nothing is wasted. Everything moves with care, deliberate and steady. The fire burns softly. Pots sit above the embers. Steam rises slowly, carrying warmth and calm through the home. Every bite of legumes is eaten slowly, chewed carefully, savored deliberately. The afternoon moves with quiet certainty. Light shifts gradually, shadows lengthen. The village remains calm. Paths are empty. Evening comes gently. The last meal is prepared with care. Legumes, grains, vegetables, small preserved additions, all combined slowly over the steady warmth of the fire. The meal is eaten quietly. Hands move steadily. Children sit calmly, absorbing the rhythm of life. Leftovers are stored carefully. Some legumes dried for future meals, some preserved in cool, dry places. The fire settles into embers. The home holds warmth. The night is still, and the rhythm of nourishment continues quietly, steadily, patiently. Grains, vegetables, legumes, bread, milk, water, they all move gently through the day. And as sleep approaches, the story drifts forward softly, like the gentle bending of bean plants in a summer breeze. Morning spreads softly across the village once more. The light touches rooftops and winds gently through the trees. Dew glistens on leaves, and the air is faintly warm, carrying the subtle scent of earth and flowers. Bees move quietly among the blossoms, collecting nectar slowly and steadily. Their hum is gentle, steady, a soft accompaniment to the calm rhythm of life. Honey is a quiet gift. It is gathered carefully, with hands gentle and patient. Baskets hold small frames, dripping slowly with golden sweetness. The process is deliberate. The hive is approached with care. Smoke rises gently to calm the bees. Frames are lifted slowly. Inside the home, honey is stored carefully. Some is kept in small clay jars. Some is added sparingly to porridge, bread, or drinks. Its sweetness is gentle, not overwhelming, a soft comfort in the simple meals of the day. Children may watch quietly, learning how to move slowly, how to handle delicately, and how to respect the calm rhythm of bees and their work. Meals continue steadily. Grains, legumes, vegetables, small portions of meat or fish, bread, milk, and honey, each prepared and eaten with care. The fire burns softly in the hearth. Pots sit above the embers, simmering gently. Steam rises slowly, carrying the faint, comforting scent of food. Every bite is deliberate, every taste savored slowly. The warmth spreads gently through the body, steadying the mind, quieting the senses. Afternoon moves with gentle certainty. Light shifts softly. Shadows stretch across the home and the paths outside. Evening approaches quietly. The last meal is prepared with care. Honey may be drizzled gently over soft bread or added sparingly to a small pot of grains. The meal is eaten slowly. Hands move calmly. Children sit quietly, absorbing the rhythm of food, fire, and life. Leftovers are stored carefully. Honey preserved in jars, waiting patiently for the days ahead. The fire settles into warm embers. The home is calm. Outside, the wind moves gently through trees and fields. The village rests, and the rhythm of life continues quietly, gently, steadily. The sweetness of honey, the warmth of the fire, the steady passage of day into night, all blend softly into the calm unfolding of life. The story drifts forward like the gentle hum of bees in the sun, soft, soothing, and unhurried. The morning light returns softly, stretching slowly across rooftops, fields, and quiet paths. The air is cool and calm, carrying the faint scent of soil and damp grass. The village awakens gradually, with the gentle sounds of animals stirring and leaves brushing against one another in the breeze. Food follows the rhythm of the seasons. Every month, every week brings small changes, small gifts. Some days the forest yields berries that glisten quietly in the sunlight. Other days the fields offer tender shoots of greens or ripening grains. People move gently through the landscape. Hands pick, gather, and carry, always careful. Nothing is rushed. Everything is treated with quiet attention. The work of gathering is slow, deliberate. Herbs are plucked one by one. Berries are collected gently in baskets. Roots are dug carefully, cleaned of soil, and carried home. Children walk slowly alongside, learning by observation. They watch hands move with care. They feel the texture of leaves and soil. They absorb the steady rhythm of daily life. Once gathered, food is prepared in the hearth. Vegetables are washed slowly, grains simmered quietly, small portions of meat or fish cooked gently over the embers. The fire burns steadily. Steam rises from pots, carrying faint, comforting scents through the home. The rhythm of cooking matches the rhythm of life outside, calm, deliberate, and gentle. Meals are eaten slowly. Hands move steadily. Eyes rest calmly. Each bite is savored, each taste carried gently into the body, comforting and steadying the mind. Some food is eaten immediately, some is preserved for later. Fruit dried in the sun, legumes stored in cool, dry places, grain kept in sacks or clay containers, cheese and butter left to rest quietly. Evening moves with quiet certainty. The fire glows softly in the hearth. The last meal is prepared with care, combining the calm gifts of the season into a steady, simple, comforting supper. The meal is shared gently. Children sit quietly nearby. Hands move slowly. Eyes rest softly. Leftovers are stored carefully, awaiting tomorrow. The village becomes still. Paths lie empty. The wind whispers softly through the trees and grass. Night deepens. The home holds warmth. The rhythm of life continues quietly, steadily, gently. The cycles of the seasons, the cycles of food, and the cycles of daily work blend together softly. The story drifts forward like the slow unfolding of time itself, soft, calm, and unhurried. Morning light spreads softly across the village once more. The rooftops glow faintly in pale sunlight. Paths wind calmly through the fields. The air carries the gentle scent of earth and dew. The world moves slowly, quietly, with a sense of steady patience. Grain, once harvested, must be prepared carefully. It is carried to the mill, sometimes set on stones turned slowly by hand or by water. The rhythm is deliberate, calm, and repetitive. Hands steady the stones. Grain is poured gradually between them. The sound is soft, a steady whispering grind. Flour falls gently into baskets below. Dust rises slowly, settling quietly in the warm morning air. Children watch quietly, learning the rhythm. Some help carry small portions, others observe, feeling the gentle weight of flour or the slow motion of the millstones. Flour, once milled, becomes the base of many simple meals: bread, porridge, small cakes, prepared slowly over the warmth of the hearth. Water is added carefully, salt sprinkled gently, herbs folded in lightly, the dough kneaded with deliberate, soft movements. Once shaped, it rests to rise. Time works quietly, patiently, while the fire glows steadily nearby. Bread is baked slowly in a pot or oven. The aroma rises gently, blending with the faint smoke of embers and the soft warmth of the home. Meals continue steadily. Grains form the base. Legumes, vegetables, small portions of preserved meat or fish, and occasional dairy are added gently. Everything is treated with care, nothing hurried, nothing wasted. The fire burns softly throughout the day. Pots simmer quietly. Steam rises, carrying the calm scent of nourishment. Meals are eaten slowly. Hands move deliberately. Eyes rest softly. Each bite is savored. Afternoon arrives quietly. Shadows stretch slowly across floors and paths. The village moves gently in response to light and warmth. Evening comes softly. The last meal is prepared with care. Bread, grains, vegetables, herbs, and small preserved foods combine slowly over the steady warmth of the fire. The meal is eaten quietly. Children sit nearby, absorbing the rhythm of life. Leftovers are stored patiently. Flour kept for tomorrow's bread. Grains preserved for the coming days. The fire settles into glowing embers. The home holds warmth and calm. The night is still. The rhythm of daily life, harvest, milling, cooking, eating, and storing continues quietly, steadily, gently. The story drifts forward softly, like the slow turning of millstones, patient, calm, and unhurried. Morning light rises slowly over the village, soft and pale. Rivers wind gently through fields, their waters quiet and steady. The air carries the faint scent of earth, water, and green leaves. The world moves softly, without rush, as if aware of its own gentle pace. Fish are a quiet presence in daily life. Caught carefully in nets or with simple lines, they are brought home slowly. The water laps gently at the banks. Nets are emptied patiently. Small fish selected with care. The preparation is calm and deliberate. Fish are cleaned softly, washed in clear water, and sometimes split gently to remove bones. Some are cooked immediately over a gentle fire. Others are salted lightly or smoked slowly, preserved for later. The smoke rises in thin, steady curls. Its scent blends quietly with the warmth of the hearth and the faint aroma of herbs and grains. Children watch quietly. Some help carry small portions. Some simply observe, feeling the calm rhythm of preparation, the slow unfolding of care and attention. Meals remain simple and steady. Grains, legumes, vegetables, small portions of meat, dairy, and fish combine gently. Nothing rushed, everything deliberate. The fire burns softly in the hearth, pots simmer slowly, steam rises quietly, carrying the gentle scent of nourishment through the home. Every bite of fish, every morsel of bread, every sip of water or milk is taken slowly. The warmth spreads gently through the body. The mind rests, the senses calm. Afternoon arrives softly. Light shifts gradually across rooftops and fields. Shadows lengthen. The village moves quietly with the rhythm of the day. Evening approaches without hurry. The last meal is prepared. Fish may be cooked over soft embers, bread, grains, and vegetables combined gently, herbs and salt added with care. The meal is eaten slowly. Hands move steadily. Children sit quietly, observing, learning, absorbing the rhythm of life. Leftovers are stored carefully. Salted or smoked fish preserved for the days ahead. Grains, bread, and vegetables kept safely for tomorrow. The fire settles into warm embers. The home is calm. Outside, the river flows quietly. The night is still. The rhythm of life continues steadily. Grains, legumes, vegetables, bread, milk, honey, fish, all move gently through the day. The story drifts forward softly, like the slow, quiet flow of a river, calm, soothing, and unhurried. Morning spreads softly across the village once more. Sunlight touches rooftops and winds gently through trees. The air carries the faint scent of soil and dew, soft and calm. Leaves sway slowly, brushing against one another with gentle rhythm. Herbs are quietly gathered. Sage, thyme, parsley, and small wild greens grow near homes and along paths. Hands move carefully, picking leaves one by one. Every stem handled gently, every leaf treated with care. Some herbs are added immediately to meals, softly chopped, sprinkled gently into pots, stirred slowly. Their scent rises quietly with the steam, filling the home with gentle warmth. Others are dried, laid carefully on racks, away from dampness, left to rest in the slow passage of time. The drying is gradual, the aroma subtle, steady, comforting. Children watch quietly, learning the rhythm. Some may help pick small leaves or carry a basket. They absorb the calm attention, the deliberate patience, and the soft passage of time. Meals are prepared slowly. Grains simmer, vegetables soften, small portions of meat, fish, or preserved foods are combined gently. Herbs added with care, never rushed. The fire burns steadily in the hearth. Steam rises softly, carrying warmth and the gentle scent of herbs, bread, milk, and cooking food. Every bite is eaten slowly, chewed carefully, savored deliberately. The warmth spreads gently through the body, steadying the mind, quieting the senses. Afternoon moves with quiet certainty. Shadows stretch gradually. The village remains calm. Paths are empty. Evening approaches slowly. The last meal is prepared with care. Grains, vegetables, small preserved foods, and herbs combined gently over the soft glow of the fire. The meal is shared quietly. Hands move deliberately. Children sit nearby, absorbing the rhythm of nourishment and the soft comfort of calm work. Leftovers are stored carefully. Dried herbs preserved for months. Grains, bread, vegetables, and milk kept for future meals. The fire settles into warm embers. The home holds quiet warmth. The night is still, and the rhythm of daily life, harvest, preservation, cooking, seasoning, eating, continues steadily, quietly, gently. The story drifts forward softly, like the slow rise of dough, the faint scent of herbs, calm, soothing, and unhurried. Morning light spreads softly across the village once more. It brushes slowly across rooftops, paths, and fields beyond. The air is cool, calm, and faintly scented with earth and dew. The world moves gently, patiently, as if aware of its own steady rhythm. Soups and stews are gentle companions in daily life. Water or stock is added slowly to a pot. Grains, legumes, vegetables, and sometimes small pieces of preserved meat are combined quietly. Herbs are sprinkled softly, stirring with deliberate care. The fire burns steadily beneath the pot. Steam rises slowly, carrying a comforting scent through the home. Children watch quietly, learning the rhythm of cooking. Hands may help stir, measure, or carry small portions. The process is calm, deliberate, and soothing. Meals are eaten slowly, without rush, every bite savored, every taste carried gently into the body. The warmth of the soup spreads quietly, steadying the mind and calming the senses. The afternoon drifts softly. Light shifts gradually across the floors and fields. Shadows stretch long. The village moves slowly with the rhythm of the day. Evening comes gently. The fire glows low in the hearth. The last meal of the day is prepared carefully. Stew or soup simmered quietly, bread sliced softly, small additions of cheese, milk, or honey included with care. The meal is shared quietly. Hands move deliberately. Children sit calmly nearby, absorbing the rhythm of life. Leftovers are stored gently. Grains, legumes, vegetables, and preserved meats kept safely for future days. The fire settles into glowing embers. The home holds warmth. Outside, the wind moves softly through trees and fields. The rhythm of life continues steadily. Soups, stews, grains, vegetables, bread, milk, honey, all move gently through the day, week, and season. The story drifts forward like the slow bubbling of a quiet pot, soft, soothing, and unhurried. Morning light spreads softly across the village once more, brushing gently over rooftops, paths, and the surrounding fields. The air is faintly sweet with dew and the subtle scent of soil and grass. The day begins slowly, with quiet movements and soft sound. Ripe and small, hanging quietly from branches or nestled among leaves, they await careful hands. The work of gathering is slow and deliberate. Hands pluck fruit softly, one piece at a time, feeling the texture, the firmness, the subtle fragrance. Berries are gathered gently in baskets, never hurried, each tiny piece treated with care. Some fruit is eaten immediately, providing a soft sweetness to the day. Other fruit is dried slowly on mats, racks, or in the warm sun. The drying is gradual, patient, preserving flavor, color, and gentle sweetness for future days. Children walk quietly alongside adults, learning by observation. They may carry small baskets, pluck a berry carefully, or simply feel the slow rhythm of gathering. Back in the home, fruits may be prepared gently. Some are sliced softly into porridge or bread dough. Some are added to small pots with grains or milk, releasing gentle sweetness as they warm slowly. The fire burns steadily in the hearth, Steam rises gently, blending with the faint aroma of bread, milk, herbs, and simmering foods. The household moves in quiet rhythm, deliberate and calm. Meals are eaten slowly. Every bite is deliberate, every taste savored. Children sit quietly, learning the steady rhythm of nourishment. Afternoon drifts softly. Light shifts gradually across rooftops and fields. The village remains calm, paths empty, the wind moving softly through trees and grass. Evening approaches without hurry. The last meal is prepared with care. Grains, vegetables, small preserved foods, bread, milk, and fruit combine gently over the warm fire. The meal is shared quietly. Hands move steadily. Eyes rest calmly. Leftovers are stored carefully. Dried fruits preserved for months. Bread and grains kept for future days. The fire settles into glowing embers. The home holds quiet warmth. Outside, the village rests. The rhythm of life continues steadily, patiently, gently. Fruits, berries, grains, legumes, bread, milk, honey, all move softly through the day. The story drifts forward like the slow ripening of fruit in the sun, calm, comforting, and unhurried. Evening falls softly over the village. The light fades gradually, stretching long, gentle shadows across rooftops, fields, and quiet paths. The air grows cooler, carrying the faint scent of earth, smoke from hearths, and the lingering warmth of the day. The last meals have been eaten. Bread, grains, vegetables, legumes, milk, and honey, all settled into the quiet rhythm of daily life. Leftovers stored carefully, preserved with patient hands for tomorrow. The fire glows low, embers breathing soft warmth into the home. Children sleep nearby, calm and steady. Animals rest quietly in barns and pens. The wind moves gently through trees and grass, whispering softly, a lullaby for the sleeping village. There is no rush, no urgency, just the slow, steady rhythm of life as it has been for countless days. Grain, bread, milk, legumes, vegetables, fruit, honey, and fish all have been part of this gentle passage of time. The moon rises quietly, bathing the fields and rooftops in pale, soft light. The village rests under its calm glow. And as the night deepens, the story of what people ate 1,000 years ago drifts away softly, like a gentle sigh. The warmth of hearths, the quiet care of hands, the slow, steady rhythm of life, all fade gently into the calm night. Sleep spreads quietly over the village. The world is still. The air is calm. The day has ended softly, peacefully, without hurry. And so, in this quiet, unhurried way, the story rests, leaving only calm, warmth, and the gentle rhythm of life lingering in the stillness. The night carries everything forward, calm, soft, and untroubled. The story ends here, quietly, gently, and without rush. The night is quiet. There is no sound of machines, no distant hum of traffic, no glow of electric light through the window. Only a soft darkness stretches across the land, resting gently over fields, small homes, and narrow paths worn by many slow footsteps. And somewhere in that quiet world, a small fire is still awake. It flickers low inside a simple home made of wood, clay, or rough stone. The air is warm near the fire, but cool in the corners. Shadows move slowly along the walls, stretching and shrinking as the flame breathes. Near that fire, a pot rests. Inside the pot, something simple is cooking. It is not rich, it is not fancy, it is not fast, but it is enough. If you allow your mind to drift back, slowly, gently, about 1,000 years into the past, you begin to notice something very quiet and very steady about life. Food is not rushed. Meals are not distractions. Eating is not entertainment. It is simply part of living, just like breathing, just like sleeping, just like watching the sky change from light to dark. And so, in this calm and distant world, people eat in a way that feels slow, careful, and deeply connected to the earth around them. In the early morning, long before the sun fully rises, the air is cool and slightly damp. A thin mist may rest over the ground, especially near fields or rivers. The grass holds tiny drops of water. When someone walks through it, their feet become wet, but they do not mind. Inside the home, the fire from the night before has almost gone out, but not completely. There are still small glowing embers hidden beneath ash. Someone wakes quietly. There is no alarm, no sudden sound, just a slow opening of the eyes, a stretch, a breath. They move toward the hearth and kneel down. With calm, practiced hands, they place a few small sticks over the embers and gently blow. The fire returns, slowly, softly, and with that fire, the day begins. The first meal of the day is simple. There is no large breakfast waiting, no table filled with many choices. Instead, there is something warm, something plain, something steady. Often it is porridge. A small handful of grain, maybe barley or oats or millet, is placed into a pot with water. Sometimes, if available, a little milk is added. The pot is set over the fire. Nothing happens quickly. The water warms slowly. Tiny bubbles begin to rise. The grain softens, swelling gently, becoming thick and smooth. The smell is quiet, soft, comforting. There are no strong spices, no sharp sweetness, just warmth, just something that fills the stomach. Bread is also common, but bread is not always fresh. It takes time to make. Grain must be ground into flour, often by hand using a heavy stone. This takes effort, slow circular movement, a steady rhythm. The flour is mixed with water. Sometimes, if they have saved a piece of dough from the day before, they add it in. This helps the bread rise slightly, but not always. Many breads are flat, dense, firm. They are cooked on a hot surface or near the fire. When eaten, they are not soft like modern bread. They are sturdy. They require chewing. And that chewing, slow and steady, becomes part of the quiet rhythm of the morning. Outside, the light begins to change. The sky moves from deep blue to soft gray to a pale, gentle gold. People begin their work early, and what they eat depends very much on where they live. In one place, near rivers, fish may be part of daily life. In another, surrounded by fields, grains become the center of every meal. In colder lands, where crops are harder to grow, people rely more on animals, milk, and preserved foods. But no matter where they are, one thing remains the same. Food is close to the land. It does not travel far. It is not stored for long. It is used carefully. As the morning continues, the first meal is finished quietly. There is no rush to clean up quickly. There are no dishes piled high. Everything is simple. A wooden bowl. A spoon may be carved by hand. Sometimes people eat with their hands. They wipe the bowl. They save what remains. Nothing is wasted. By the middle of the day, hunger returns, but again, it is not urgent. It is not loud. It is a gentle reminder. The body asks softly for more. The second meal may be even simpler than the first. perhaps a piece of bread, perhaps a bit of cheese if there are animals nearby. Cheese is valuable. It keeps longer than milk. It is made slowly, carefully. Sometimes it is soft, sometimes it is firm and aged. The taste can be strong or mild, depending on how it is made, but it is always important. If vegetables are available, they are eaten, not in large variety, not in bright colors all at once, but in small, quiet portions. Onions, perhaps, cabbage slowly cooked, roots pulled from the ground. They are not dressed with sauces, they are not decorated, they are simply cooked and eaten. There is a kind of peace in this simplicity, a steady feeling that nothing is too much, nothing is overwhelming, everything is enough. As the day moves on, work continues. People tend fields, they repair tools, they walk long distances, and all of this shapes how they eat. Food must give energy, food must last, food must be shared. In the late afternoon, the light begins to soften again, the air cools, shadows grow longer, and slowly, gently, the final meal of the day begins to take shape. This is often the main meal, the most complete, the most filling, but still it is not hurried. A pot returns to the fire. Inside there may be a stew, water, grain, bits of vegetables, maybe a small amount of meat. Meat is not eaten every day. It is not common for many people. It is saved, used carefully, shared. So when it appears in a meal, it is quiet but meaningful. The stew cooks slowly, very slowly. The flavors blend together. Nothing is sharp, nothing is loud. Everything becomes soft. People gather near the fire. There is no bright light, only the warm glow of flame. They sit close. They eat slowly. Sometimes they speak. Sometimes they do not. And as night returns once more, the world becomes quiet again. The fire grows smaller. The bowls are empty. The air cools, and the body feels calm and ready for rest. This is how people eat, not in a rush, not with excess, but with a slow, steady rhythm that follows the earth itself. The fire has grown smaller now. Only a soft orange glow remains, resting quietly beneath a thin layer of ash. The room is dim, and the night outside feels deep and still, like a long breath that does not end. People sleep, and while they sleep, the world continues its slow turning. Far beyond the walls of the home, beyond the small paths and quiet fields, the land itself is always changing, always preparing, always giving and resting and giving again. Because food, 1,000 years ago, does not come from distant places. It does not arrive suddenly. It begins here, in the soil. When morning returns again, it does not arrive all at once. It seeps gently into the world. A faint light appears at the edge of the sky. The air is cool, carrying the quiet scent of earth and grass. Somewhere far away, a bird makes a soft call, then another, and slowly the silence begins to shift. Inside the home, the fire is brought back to life once more. And just like before, the first meal is simple. Warm porridge, perhaps a piece of bread saved from yesterday, maybe a small cup of watered milk. It is familiar, it is expected, it asks for nothing more than presence. But outside, something deeper is happening. The fields are waiting. Food in this time follows the seasons very closely, closer than anything else. There is no separation between what people eat and what the land is ready to give. In the spring, the earth begins to wake. The ground softens after long months of cold. Small green shoots push gently through the soil. At first, they are fragile, almost hidden, but slowly they grow stronger. People walk through the fields, sometimes barefoot, feeling the damp ground beneath them. They prepare the land. Using simple tools, wooden plows, iron tips if they are fortunate, they turn the soil slowly. It is hard work, but steady. There is a rhythm to it. Push, step, turn, breathe, again and again. Seeds are planted by hand. Each seed is small, easy to lose, but full of quiet promise. Grains like barley and wheat are scattered carefully, not too close, not too far. There is no machine to guide the spacing, only experience, only memory. And while the seeds rest beneath the soil, life continues. Food from the previous harvest becomes more important now, because spring is often a time of less. The stores from winter are low. The fresh crops are not yet ready. So meals become even simpler, even quieter. People rely on what has been saved. Dried grains, hard bread, salted foods, sometimes dried fish or meat carefully preserved months ago. These foods are not soft, they are not easy. They require soaking, cooking, patience, but they last, and lasting is what matters. As days pass, the light grows longer. The sun stays in the sky just a little more each day, and slowly, very slowly, the first fresh foods return. Wild greens appear first, small leaves gathered from the edges of fields, from forests, from places where the land grows freely. They are slightly bitter, simple, but fresh, and that freshness feels important. These greens are often added to a pot of water and cooked gently. No heavy seasoning, just warmth, just enough to soften them. They are eaten slowly, often with bread, bringing a quiet change to the daily meals. Then comes early summer, and with it a feeling of quiet abundance. The fields are no longer empty. They move gently with the wind, covered in growing crops. The color of the land deepens, greens becoming richer, more full. And now food begins to feel a little less scarce. Milk becomes more available. Animals that were quiet through winter now give more. Cows, goats, sheep. Their milk is used quickly. It does not last long. Some is drunk fresh. Some is turned into cheese. Cheese making is a slow, careful process. Milk is warmed. Something is added to help it separate. Curds form, soft and pale. These curds are gathered, pressed, shaped, then left to rest, sometimes for days, sometimes longer. Each step is quiet. Each step requires patience, and the result, a simple piece of cheese, becomes a valuable part of daily food. In the fields, vegetables begin to grow more fully. Onions swell beneath the soil. Cabbages form tight, heavy heads. Beans climb slowly upward, reaching for light. These foods are not eaten all at once. They are taken when they're ready, one at a time, as needed. Meals begin to feel slightly more varied now. Still simple, still calm, but with small changes, a few more flavors, a few more textures. And yet, even in this time of growth, people are always thinking quietly about the future, because they know, without needing to say it, that this abundance will not last forever. Summer deepens. The days are long. The sun is warm, sometimes strong. Work continues, but there is also a sense of rhythm that feels almost peaceful. Food is gathered daily, prepared slowly, shared quietly. Bread is made more often now, when grain is available. The grinding of grain becomes a familiar sound again, stone against stone, a low, steady motion, flour forming slowly, like soft dust. Water is added. Dough is shaped. Hands press and fold over and over in a calm, repeating movement. The bread is cooked near the fire or on hot surfaces. It does not rise much, but it fills the stomach, and that is enough. As evening comes, the meals remain gentle. A pot over the fire, a mix of what is available, grains, vegetables, maybe a little milk, sometimes a small piece of meat if something has been prepared or saved. The light fades again, the air cools, and just like before, the day ends in quiet. But now the story of food is moving forward, slowly, towards a different time, a time of gathering, a time of preparation, a time when everything must be saved, carefully, for what is to come. Because beyond summer, beyond the soft warmth and growing fields, autumn is waiting.
Autumn arrives without hurry. There's no sudden change, no sharp moment where one season ends and another begins. Instead, the world shifts slowly, almost gently, as if the land itself is easing into a quieter state. The air feels different first. It becomes a little cooler in the early morning. The mist lingers longer over the fields. When people step outside, they may pull their clothing a little closer around themselves, not from discomfort, but from a quiet awareness that warmth is slowly fading. The colors begin to change as well. The deep greens of summer soften into shades of gold, pale brown, and muted red. The fields, once growing and stretching upward, now seem to bow slightly, heavy with what they have produced. This is the time of harvest. There is no rush in the way we might imagine, but there is purpose. People move through the fields with steady, practiced motions. Tools are simple, sickles made of metal or sharpened stone. With each careful movement, stalks of grain are cut and gathered. The sound is soft, a gentle slicing, followed by the quiet rustle of plants being laid together. Again and again, bundles of grain are tied and left to dry. They stand in small clusters across the field, like silent markers of the season's work. When the wind passes through, they shift slightly, brushing against each other with a faint whisper. There is a calm satisfaction in this work. Not excitement, not celebration, just a quiet sense that something necessary is being completed. The grain must be prepared. It cannot be eaten as it is. So after it has dried, it is taken to a place where it can be threshed. This is another slow process. The grain is beaten gently, often with wooden tools, to separate the edible parts from the husks. Dust rises into the air, catching the soft light. It settles on hands, on clothes, on the ground. Nothing feels hurried. Everything follows a rhythm. Then comes the winnowing. The grain is lifted and allowed to fall, sometimes in a light breeze. The lighter husks drift away, while the heavier grains fall back down. It is a simple method, quiet, effective. What remains is precious. Each small grain holds the effort of many days, the turning of soil, the wading through rain and sun, the careful tending. And so these grains are stored, often in dry containers, sometimes in woven baskets, sometimes in small storage spaces built into the home or nearby structures. They must be kept safe from moisture, from animals, from time itself, because this grain is not just food for today, it is food for the future, for the long, quiet months that are slowly approaching. Vegetables are gathered too. Roots are pulled carefully from the earth. Carrots, turnips, onions. Each one carries the cool scent of soil. They are brushed clean, but not washed too much. The earth clinging to them helps preserve them. They are placed in cool, dark places, cellars if available, or simple pits dug into the ground.
Cabbages are harvested as well, heavy and firm, their leaves wrapped tightly together. Some are eaten fresh, others are preserved. Sometimes they are sliced and salted, then left to rest. Over time, they soften. Their flavor changes, becoming slightly sour, but lasting much longer. Fruits, if the land provides them, are gathered gently. Apples, small and firm. Berries, if any remain. They are eaten, dried, or sometimes cooked into simple forms that last longer. And then there is meat. Animals are not often used for food without reason. They are valuable in life. They provide milk, labor, companionship. But as winter approaches, some must be chosen. This is done quietly, without noise, without display. The meat is prepared carefully. Nothing is wasted. Every part has a purpose. Some meat is cooked soon after, but much of it is preserved. Salt is used when available. The meat is covered, rubbed, and left to rest. The salt draws out moisture, helping it last. Smoking is also used. The meat is hung above a slow fire, not to cook quickly, but to dry slowly over time. The smoke surrounds it, adding a deep, quiet flavor while preserving it for the months ahead. The smell of smoke becomes familiar during this time. It lingers in the air, in the clothes, in the wood of the home itself. Fish in places near water is also preserved, dried in the open air, or salted like meat. All of this work happens with a calm understanding. Winter is coming, not as something to fear, but as something to prepare for. Meals during autumn begin to change. They feel fuller, more complete. There's a sense of using what is fresh while also saving what must last. Stews become richer, not in spices, but in substance. Grains, vegetables, small pieces of meat, all cooked together slowly. The pot rests over the fire for long periods. The contents soften, blend, become one. Bread continues to be made, perhaps more often now as new grain is available. The flour is fresh. The process remains the same: grinding, mixing, shaping, cooking. People eat together when they can, near the fire, in the fading light of the day. Outside, the evenings grow cooler. The sky darkens earlier. The wind carries a different sound. Less movement in the fields, more stillness. And slowly, almost without notice, the work of gathering begins to slow. The fields are no longer full. They are quiet, empty except for what remains of the harvested plants. The ground rests. Inside homes, however, there is a quiet fullness. Food is stored, carefully placed, organized not by abundance, but by need. Because soon, very soon, the world outside will change again. The warmth will fade further. The ground will harden. The days will become shorter and quieter. And in that stillness, the way people eat will change once more, becoming even slower, even simpler, even quieter. The fire will return to the center of everything, and around it, in the soft glow of its light, winter will begin.
Winter does not arrive all at once. It moves in quietly, like a soft breath that slowly cools the air, settles over the land, and gently stills everything it touches. At first, it is only a thin frost in the early morning, a delicate layer of white resting on the ground, on rooftops, on the edges of wooden fences. It disappears when the sun rises, but it returns again the next day, and the next. And then, without urgency, the cold begins to stay. The fields grow silent. Where there was once movement, soft waves of grain, leaves turning in the wind, there is now stillness. The earth feels firm beneath each step. Sometimes it makes a faint crunching sound. The colors fade into softer tones.
gray sky, pale ground, dark branches reaching upward, empty of leaves. Inside the home, life becomes smaller, closer, more contained. The fire is no longer just a comfort, it is necessary. Each morning begins the same way as before, but now the air inside the home is colder when the fire has faded during the night. Breath becomes visible in the early hours. Hands move slowly at first, warming themselves before beginning the day. The fire is brought back to life with care. Dry wood is placed gently over the remaining embers. A quiet breath, a small movement of air, and the flame returns, flickering softly before growing stronger. This fire will remain the center of everything now. Cooking, warmth, light. Food during winter changes in a very quiet but noticeable way. There is less freshness, less variety, but there is still enough. The stores gathered during autumn are now opened slowly. Grain is measured carefully, never too much at once, always with a quiet awareness of how long it must last. Porridge returns as a steady, dependable meal, more often now, sometimes twice a day, sometimes with only water, sometimes with a little milk, if any remains. The texture is familiar, soft, warm, filling. Bread becomes more precious, not always made every day, sometimes saved, sometimes stretched across several meals. Each piece is valued, eaten slowly. Vegetables from storage are used carefully. Root vegetables kept in cool darkness are brought out one at a time. They may be slightly softer now, their edges less firm, but they still carry the quiet strength of the earth they came from. They are added to stews or boiled gently in water. Nothing complicated, nothing wasted. Cabbage, preserved earlier, may appear in meals. Its flavor has changed over time, softer, slightly sour, but still nourishing, still important. Meat, when available, is used sparingly. A small piece added to a pot can change the entire meal, not in a loud way, but in a quiet deepening of flavor. Salted meat must be soaked first, to soften it, to bring it back gently from its preserved state. Smoked meat carries a faint scent of fire. Even after cooking, that smell remains, soft, lingering, familiar. Fish, dried or salted, is treated in much the same way, prepared slowly, cooked gently. Meals take longer to prepare in winter, not because they are complex, but because everything requires patience. Water must be warmed, ingredients must soften, nothing moves quickly in the cold. And so the act of cooking becomes slower, more deliberate, almost quiet in its repetition. Outside, the world remains still. Snow may fall, not always heavy, sometimes just a light covering, settling over everything like a soft blanket. Sounds are different in winter, more muted, footsteps quieter, voices softer. Inside, people gather closer. The space near the fire becomes the center of daily life. Meals are eaten here, slowly, often in silence, or with soft, simple conversation. There is no distraction, no noise beyond the crackle of the fire, the faint movement of wind outside. Time feels longer, stretched, unhurried. Hunger is present in winter, but it is not always sharp. It is steady, a quiet awareness in the body. People eat not to feel full, but to continue, to keep warmth, to keep strength. And still there is a kind of calm in this, a rhythm that does not change. Morning fire, simple meal, quiet work, another meal, rest, over and over, day after day. Sometimes small comforts appear, a slightly thicker stew, a bit more bread than usual, a rare sweetness if something has been saved. These moments are not celebrated loudly. They are simply noticed, felt, then allowed to pass gently. As winter continues, the stores slowly become lighter. Containers once full now feel less so. Each handful of grain matters more. Each preserved piece is chosen with care. But still, there is no panic, only awareness, because this cycle is known. It has happened before, and it will happen again. And then, slowly, very slowly, something begins to change. The light lingers just a little longer in the evening. The cold, while still present, feels less heavy. The air shifts, almost unnoticeably. Winter is still here, but it is no longer deep. And somewhere beneath the frozen ground, beyond sight, beyond sound, the earth is beginning to prepare once more. The long quiet of winter is slowly giving way to something softer, something new. And with it, the way people eat will begin to change again. The fire will still burn, the meals will still be simple, but the cycle, the slow, steady cycle of food and life, will continue forward.
The fire still burns low in the early morning. It is smaller now than it was in the deep of winter, but still steady, still necessary. The air inside the home is not as sharp with cold as before. There is a softness returning, almost too gentle to notice at first. Outside, the world is changing again. Not quickly, not all at once, but in small, quiet ways. The snow, if it had settled thick upon the ground, begins to melt. At first, only in places where the sunlight rests a little longer, along the edges of paths, near the walls of homes, beneath the branches that allow light to pass through. Drops of water fall slowly, soft, patient, steady. The ground beneath begins to loosen. Where it was once hard and unyielding, it now gives slightly under each step. The earth feels damp again, carrying that familiar scent, rich, deep, and calm. Inside the home, the stores of food have grown thin. The containers that once held grain now feel light when lifted. The preserved vegetables are fewer. The pieces of meat saved so carefully are nearly gone. Meals have become very simple again. Sometimes just a small portion of porridge. Sometimes only bread, stretched as far as it can go. This is a quiet time, a time of waiting. And yet there is no sense of surprise in this. People understand this part of the cycle. They have felt it before, the slow narrowing of food before the return of new life. In the mornings, when the fire is lit, the movements feel familiar. Hands work calmly. Even with less to prepare, the rhythm does not change. A pot is still placed over the flame. Water still warms slowly. Grain, if any remains, is added carefully. But outside, something new is beginning. At first, it is very small, so small it could be missed. A single green shoot pushes up through the soil, then another, then many more. Wild plants return before anything else. They do not wait for fields to be prepared. They grow where they can, quietly, steadily, without needing much. People begin to look for them, not in a hurried way, but with quiet attention. They walk slowly across the land, eyes lowered gently toward the ground. Hands reach down, carefully, selecting leaves that are known, familiar, safe. These early greens are not large, not soft like summer vegetables. They can be slightly bitter, sometimes tough, but they are fresh, and that freshness carries a quiet importance. The greens are brought back to the home, washed simply, placed into a pot with water, cooked slowly, just enough to soften them. The taste is different from the foods of winter, lighter, brighter, even if only slightly. And with that change, meals begin to feel gently renewed.
Milk also begins to return. Animals, quiet through the cold months, now give more again. Not in abundance at first, but enough. A small cup of milk shared carefully becomes part of the meal, sometimes added to porridge, sometimes taken slowly on its own. There is a quiet comfort in this, a sense that something steady is coming back. Days continue to grow longer. Light lingers in the sky. The evenings are not as dark, not as long. People begin to spend more time outside, not because they must, but because the air invites them. The fields, still bare from winter, are visited again. The soil is tested, turned slightly, felt beneath the hands. Soon the work of planting will begin again, but not yet, not too soon. Timing matters. Everything follows the quiet rhythm of the land. In the meantime, meals remain simple, still based on what little is left from winter, still careful, still measured, but now they are joined by these small signs of change, a handful of fresh greens, a little more milk, a sense of softness returning. The fire is still used each day, but it feels different now, less like protection, more like habit, more like comfort. Steam rises gently from pots once more. The scent of cooking, though still simple, begins to carry a hint of something new. Bread, when made, begins to feel less scarce. Grain, though still limited, is no longer the only source of food, and slowly, almost quietly, the feeling of waiting begins to fade. Spring deepens. The land continues to awaken. More plants appear, stronger, more steady. The cycle, which seemed so quiet and still in winter, begins to move again, and with it, the way people eat begins to expand. Still simple, still calm, still unhurried, but no longer as narrow, no longer as still. Meals begin to carry small changes, small differences, a gentle variety returning to the table. And in these quiet changes, life continues forward. The fire burns, the pot warms, the food is prepared, and the slow, steady rhythm of eating, of living, of following the land begins again.
The fire still burns low in the early morning. It is smaller now than it was in the deep of winter, but still steady, still necessary. The air inside the home is not as sharp with cold as before. There is a softness returning, almost too gentle to notice at first. Outside, the world is changing again. Not quickly, not all at once, but in small, quiet ways. The snow, if it had settled thick upon the ground, begins to melt. At first, only in places where the sunlight rests a little longer, along the edges of paths, near the walls of homes, beneath the branches that allow light to pass through. Drops of water fall slowly, soft, patient, steady. The ground beneath begins to loosen. Where it was once hard and unyielding, it now gives slightly under each step. The earth feels damp again, carrying that familiar scent, rich, deep, and calm. Inside the home, the stores of food have grown thin. The containers that once held grain now feel light when lifted. The preserved vegetables are fewer. The pieces of meat, saved so carefully, are nearly gone. Meals have become very simple again. Sometimes just a small portion of porridge. Sometimes only bread, stretched as far as it can go. This is a quiet time, a time of waiting. And yet there is no sense of surprise in this. People understand this part of the cycle. They have felt it before. The slow narrowing of food before the return of new life. In the mornings, when the fire is lit, the movements feel familiar. Hands work calmly. Even with less to prepare, the rhythm does not change. A pot is still placed over the flame. Water still warms slowly.
Grain, if any remains, is added carefully. But outside, something new is beginning. At first, it is very small, so small it could be missed. A single green shoot pushes up through the soil, then another, then many more. Wild plants return before anything else. They do not wait for fields to be prepared. They grow where they can, quietly, steadily, without needing much. People begin to look for them, not in a hurried way, but with quiet attention. They walk slowly across the land, eyes lowered gently toward the ground. Hands reach down, carefully, selecting leaves that are known, familiar, safe. These early greens are not large, not soft like summer vegetables. They can be slightly bitter, sometimes tough, but they are fresh, and that freshness carries a quiet importance. The greens are brought back to the home, washed simply, placed into a pot with water, cooked slowly just enough to soften them. The taste is different from the foods of winter, lighter, brighter, even if only slightly, and with that change, meals begin to feel gently renewed. Milk also begins to return. Animals, quiet through the cold months, now give more again, not in abundance at first, but enough. A small cup of milk shared carefully becomes part of the meal, sometimes added to porridge, sometimes taken slowly on its own. There is a quiet comfort in this, a sense that something steady is coming back. Days continue to grow longer. Light lingers in the sky. The evenings are not as dark, not as long. People begin to spend more time outside, not because they must, but because the air invites them. The fields, still bare from winter, are visited again. The soil is tested, turned slightly, felt beneath the hands. Soon the work of planting will begin again, but not yet, not too soon. Timing matters. Everything follows the quiet rhythm of the land. In the meantime, meals remain simple, still based on what little is left from winter, still careful, still measured, but now they are joined by these small signs of change. A handful of fresh greens, a little more milk, a sense of softness returning. The fire is still used each day, but it feels different now, less like protection, more like habit, more like comfort. Steam rises gently from pots once more. The scent of cooking, though still simple, begins to carry a hint of something new. Bread, when made, begins to feel less scarce. Grain, though still limited, is no longer the only source of food. And slowly, almost quietly, the feeling of waiting begins to fade. Spring deepens. The land continues to awaken. More plants appear, stronger, more steady. The cycle, which seemed so quiet and still in winter, begins to move again, and with it, the way people eat begins to expand. Still simple, still calm, still unhurried, but no longer as narrow, no longer as still. Meals begin to carry small changes, small differences, a gentle variety returning to the table. And in these quiet changes, life continues forward. The fire burns, the pot warms, the food is prepared, and the slow, steady rhythm of eating, of living, of following the land begins again.
The morning returns again, as it always does, softly, without sound, without urgency. A pale light spreads slowly across the sky, touching the rooftops of the village, the narrow paths, the quiet fields beyond. The air is cool, but no longer sharp. It carries a gentle stillness that feels familiar now. Inside the homes, the first movements of the day begin once more. The fire is awakened. Hands move with memory,
not thought. And somewhere within the village, there is a place where the making of bread becomes the center of quiet attention. Bread is not made carelessly. It is not rushed. It is not taken for granted, because bread begins long before the dough is shaped. It begins in the fields, in the slow growth of grain, in the careful harvest, in the patient work of drying and storing. Every small loaf carries all of that with it. In some homes, bread is made in small amounts, just enough for a day or two. But in other places, there is a shared oven, a space where several people come together, bringing their prepared dough, waiting quietly for their turn. The oven itself is simple, made of clay or stone, rounded, enclosed, holding heat within its thick walls. It is not lit for every single loaf. That would require too much wood, too much effort. Instead, the oven is prepared slowly. A fire is built inside it, not to cook the bread directly, but to heat the walls. The fire burns for a long time. The heat sinks deep into the structure. Then, when the time is right, the fire is allowed to fade. The ashes are cleared gently, and the space inside the oven is left holding a quiet, steady warmth. This warmth will bake the bread, slowly, evenly, without flame. Outside the oven, people wait. There is no line formed in a strict way. No one rushes forward. Each person understands their place, their time. They carry bowls or cloths holding their dough. The dough has been prepared earlier, mixed with water, sometimes with a bit of old dough saved from before, helping it rise just a little. The texture is soft, slightly sticky, alive in a quiet way. Hands shape the dough gently, not perfectly, not measured, just enough to form something that can be placed into the oven. Some loaves are flat, some are thicker. Some are shaped with small marks or patterns, not for decoration, but to recognize them later. When it is time, the dough is placed inside, carefully, quietly. The opening of the oven is closed, and then there is waiting. No one watches closely. No one checks constantly, because the baking of bread is not something to control at every moment. It is something to trust. Time passes slowly. People sit nearby. Some speak in low voices. Some remain silent. The scent begins to change. At first, there is nothing. Then, slowly, a warm, soft smell begins to rise. It drifts into the air, subtle but unmistakable. It is the scent of bread becoming ready. When the loaves are taken out, they are warm, firm on the outside, dense within. They are not light or airy. They are solid, made to last, made to fill. Each person takes their bread carefully. There is no extra, no waste. Some bread is eaten that same day, still warm, torn by hand, shared quietly. Some is kept, wrapped in cloth, placed in a cool, dry space. Over time it becomes harder, less soft, but still useful, still eaten. Hard bread is not thrown away. It is softened again, placed into water, or added to a pot. In this way, even old bread continues to be part of meals. Bread is present in almost every part of the day. A small piece in the morning, another at midday, more in the evening. It is not the center of attention, but it is always there. And because it is always there, it becomes something steady, something reliable, something quiet. Children grow up knowing the feel of dough, the weight of a loaf, the slow chewing required to eat it. They learn without being told, watching hands move, feeling the rhythm. The making of bread becomes part of memory, part of life itself. And even beyond the village, in other lands, in other climates, bread takes different forms. In some places, it is thinner, cooked quickly over hot surfaces. In others, it is thicker, baked longer. Sometimes it includes small additions, seeds, grains, whatever is available. But always it remains simple. Flour, water, time, heat. Nothing more is needed. As the day moves forward, the bread that has been made becomes part of every meal. A piece is broken off, dipped into something warm, or eaten on its own. It is never hurried, never taken in large bites. Each piece is chewed slowly, and in that slow chewing there is a quiet pause, a moment of stillness within the day. Evening comes again, softly. The oven cools. The village grows quiet. Inside the homes the bread rests, some of it already eaten, some waiting for the next day. The fire burns low once more, and the steady rhythm continues. Because bread, like everything else in this world, is part of a cycle, made slowly, used carefully, remembered without words. And as the night deepens and the last small sounds of the day fade away, the story moves gently onward into another quiet part of this life. The night passes gently, as it always does. The fire fades to a soft glow, then to quiet embers, and the world rests in stillness. Outside, the air moves slowly across the land, touching fields, trees, and rooftops without sound. And then, once again, morning begins to return, not suddenly, but as a slow brightening of the sky. With the first light, the small, familiar movements begin again. The fire is brought back to life. The pot is placed nearby. And alongside the simple foods of the day, there is something else, something just as important, though often less noticed. Drink. Water is the most common, the most constant, the most necessary. It is gathered each day, carried by hand. In many places, water comes from a nearby source, a river moving slowly over stones, a stream narrow and clear, a well, deep and cool, reached by rope and bucket. The act of gathering water is never rushed. A person walks the same path each day, feet pressing gently into the earth, hands holding a container made of clay, wood, or metal. When they reach the source, there is often a moment of stillness, the quiet sound of water moving, the reflection of the sky, the soft ripple created by the bucket as it is lowered. Water is lifted carefully, not spilled, not wasted, then carried back, step by step, balanced, steady. This water will be used for many things: cooking, drinking, cleaning. It is simple, clear, without flavor, and yet it is enough. In some homes, water is warmed before drinking, not always to change it, but to make it gentle on the body. A pot is placed near the fire. The water inside grows slowly warm. Steam rises in thin, quiet lines. It is sipped slowly, especially in colder times. Milk is another quiet part of daily life. Not always available, not always in large amounts, but present when animals are nearby. In the early morning, before much else begins, animals are tended: cows, goats, sometimes sheep. The process is calm. Hands move carefully, gently. Milk is collected into simple containers, still warm, still fresh. It does not last long. It must be used soon. Some of it is drunk as it is, soft, mild. Some is added to food, poured into porridge, mixed into simple dishes, and some is set aside for making something that will last longer. Milk can be turned, changed slowly into other forms. It may become curds, soft, pale, delicate, or pressed into cheese as before, firm, lasting, or left to rest, becoming slightly sour over time, still useful, still nourishing. These changes do not happen quickly. They are allowed, given time, and in that time the milk becomes something new. There are also other quiet drinks, though not always present. In some places, people make simple fermented drinks, not strong, not overwhelming. Grain may be soaked, left to change slowly. The result is mild, cloudy. It is not used for excitement, not for escape, but simply as another form of nourishment, another way to use what the land provides. These drinks are taken slowly, in small amounts. They are part of the rhythm, not separate from it. Children do not always drink these. They remain with water or milk. Everything follows a quiet balance. As the day moves forward, drink accompanies each meal, but it is never the center, a sip between bites, a pause, a breath. Water cools the mouth. Milk softens the meal. There is no urgency, no large cups, no constant refilling, just enough, always just enough. In the afternoon, when the sun is higher and the air feels warmer, water becomes more important. After work, after walking, after tending to the land, a drink of cool water feels steady, calm. It is taken slowly, not all at once, and then the day continues. As evening approaches, the use of drink becomes quieter again. Water may be warmed once more, especially as the air cools. A small cup held between hands, heat passing gently through fingers. Milk, if available, may be shared, a small amount, divided carefully. Nothing is wasted, nothing is taken without thought. Even the simplest drink carries effort. The walk to the well, the tending of animals, the waiting for change. And so each sip is quiet, intentional. The fire glows softly. The meal is simple. The drink rests beside it. And together they complete the day. Outside, the night returns once more. The land grows still. The water flows quietly in the distance. And inside, the last small movements fade. The containers are set aside. The fire settles. And once again, the body rests. Calm, steady, ready to begin again. Because even in something as simple as water, as gentle as milk, the rhythm of life continues, slowly, quietly, without end.
The night fades again into morning. Soft light returns to the edges of the world, touching the quiet rooftops, the still paths, and the low, resting fields. Nothing begins suddenly. Everything unfolds in its own gentle time. Inside the home, the fire is the first to awaken. It has rested through the night, hidden beneath ash, holding just enough warmth to return when called. A careful hand moves the ash aside. A few dry twigs are placed above the embers. A slow breath, and the fire answers. It grows quietly, not with a sharp flame, but with a steady glow. This fire is where all cooking begins. There are no separate kitchens, no distant spaces filled with tools. Everything happens here, close to the warmth, close to the light. Above the fire, a pot is placed, simple, heavy, often made of clay, sometimes metal if it can be found. It is not polished, not perfect,
but it holds what it needs to hold. The pot is used again and again, day after day, meal after meal. It carries the memory of many foods, many seasons. Water is poured in, then something more. Grain, vegetables, sometimes a small piece of meat. There are no recipes written down, no measurements carefully counted. Everything is known by feel, by memory. A handful, a small portion, a quiet judgment formed over time. The pot begins to warm. At first, nothing changes. Then slowly, the surface of the water moves. Small bubbles appear. The contents begin to soften. Cooking takes time. There is no way to hurry it. The fire must be watched, but not controlled too tightly. If it burns too strong, the food may cook too quickly. If it fades too much, the food may remain hard. So the fire is adjusted gently. A small piece of wood added, a piece moved aside. This is not done with urgency. It is done with attention. The person tending the pot does not stand still the entire time. They move around the space, sit, stand again, check the pot, stir slowly. The spoon, often made of wood, moves in quiet circles, scraping lightly against the bottom, ensuring nothing sticks, nothing burns. The sound is soft, a low, steady motion. Steam rises, thin at first, then more visible. It carries a simple scent, not strong, not sharp, just the gentle blending of what is inside. Sometimes the pot is left to sit near the fire, not directly over it, letting the heat reach it slowly. This kind of cooking is patient. It allows the food to change gradually. Grains swell, vegetables soften, meat becomes tender. Everything becomes easier to eat, easier to share. There are no separate dishes prepared at once, no large spread of different foods. Often, everything is placed into one pot, cooked together. This creates a kind of quiet unity. Each ingredient loses its sharp edge, its separate form, and becomes part of something larger, something simple, something complete. When the food is ready, it is not announced. There is no signal. It is simply known. The person tending the fire sees it, feels it. The pot is moved slightly away from the heat, allowed to rest. Bowls are brought forward, simple, worn. Food is served, not in equal measured portions, but in a natural way, each taking what is needed. There is no hurry to eat. The food is worn. It will remain so for a while. People sit near the fire, close enough to feel its heat. They eat slowly. Each spoonful is taken without thought, without distraction. The warmth spreads through the body, steady, calm. There is no noise beyond the quiet movements, the soft sound of eating, the gentle crackle of the fire. And when the meal is finished, the pot is not immediately cleaned. It may sit for a while, cooling. Later, water is added. The inside is wiped. Nothing is wasted. Even the small remains may be used again. The pot is then set back in its place, ready for the next meal. In this way, cooking becomes part of the rhythm of the day, not separate, not special, just something that happens again and again. Morning, midday, evening, each time slightly different, each time the same. The fire continues to burn, the pot continues to rest above it, and within that quiet space, surrounded by warmth and stillness, the act of cooking remains simple, unchanging, steady, a slow transformation of what the land provides into something that can be held, shared, and gently consumed. And as the light fades once more and the fire settles into a soft glow, the story moves quietly forward into another part of this calm and steady life. Morning comes again, slow and gentle. The light spreads across the land, touching the tops of homes, the narrow paths between them, and the wider roads that stretch beyond the village. These roads are not busy. They are not filled with constant movement, but they are used, worn softly over time by footsteps, by carts, by the quiet passing of people carrying what they have and seeking what they need. Not all food stays within one home. Not all food is grown or gathered in one place. And so, from time to time, people travel. Not far, not quickly, but steadily. They walk along these paths, carrying small bundles, a basket of grain, a piece of cheese, a few vegetables, something simple, something they can offer. The journey itself is calm. There is no urgency in the steps. The land stretches quietly around them, fields, trees, small streams crossing the path in gentle lines. Sometimes they walk alone, sometimes with others, but even together there is little noise, only the sound of movement, footsteps pressing into the earth, cloth shifting lightly. Eventually, the path leads to a place where others have gathered, not a loud or crowded market as one might imagine today, but a quiet meeting of people, a small open space, perhaps near a crossroads, perhaps beside a well or a wide clearing. Here, food is exchanged, not always with coins, not always with strict measure. Often it is simple trade, a piece of bread for a handful of dried fish, a small wheel of cheese for a bundle of vegetables, grain for something not easily grown nearby. There is no rush to make these exchanges. People speak softly, take time to look, to consider. The items are held in the hands, turned gently, felt. The quality is known not by labels, but by touch, by smell, by quiet experience. Nothing is wrapped in layers. Nothing is hidden. Everything is visible. And so the exchange becomes something calm, something understood without many words. Sometimes there are small differences between what one place has and another. In one area, grain may be more plentiful. In another, fish. In another, milk and cheese. These differences move between people, carried by hand, by memory. In this way, food travels, but never far, never fast. It remains connected to the land it came from. People do not gather large amounts. They take only what they can carry, what they need. And when the exchange is done, they return the same way they came, walking slowly, carrying their small bundles. The journey back is just as quiet, the same paths, the same steady steps. When they return home, the new food is placed with care, a small addition to what is already there, perhaps something slightly different, a new taste, a change in the usual rhythm, but still simple, still calm. Meals may shift slightly because of this, a different ingredient added to the pot, a new texture alongside the bread. But nothing becomes complicated, nothing becomes overwhelming. Everything is folded gently into what already exists. And so, even though food moves between people, between places, it does so in a quiet way, without noise, without speed, just a slow exchange, a sharing of what the land has given in different places. As the day fades again into evening, the small market space empties. The people leave. The ground returns to stillness. Only faint marks remain, footprints, slight impressions in the earth. Soon even those will fade, and the paths will wait again, waiting for the next quiet journey, the next slow exchange. Back in the village, the fire is lit once more. The pot is placed above it. The newly gathered food becomes part of the evening meal, blended with what is already known, cooked slowly, eaten quietly. And just like every other part of life in this time, the exchange of food becomes part of the rhythm, not separate, not special, just another gentle movement within the day. And as the night returns once more, soft and steady, the story continues to drift forward into another quiet corner of this world.
Morning arrives once again, soft and patient, brushing lightly across the village and the surrounding fields. The light moves slowly, touching the rooftops, the narrow paths, and the edges of the forest that begins just beyond the cultivated land. In some homes, there is still a need for foods that cannot be grown nearby. So quietly, people prepare to leave. They carry simple tools, a small basket, a knife, a rope or string, perhaps a small net. Not everything is brought at once. Each journey is made for a purpose, for what the land can offer. The forest is quiet in the early morning. The branches are still wet with dew. The air is cool, carrying the gentle scent of soil and leaves. A person walks slowly, step by step, letting their eyes rest carefully on the ground, on the trees, on the small movements of the air. Mushrooms may be found hidden under fallen leaves, small and pale, waiting quietly to be noticed. Berries, still firm, cling gently to their stems. Roots may be dug from the earth. Each is handled with care. Nothing is taken too quickly. Nothing is gathered without attention. The act of collecting is itself quiet. Sometimes small animals are part of this journey. Birds, rabbits, fish in a stream. Not every journey results in a catch. Not every path yields something. And that is understood without disappointment. Life moves at its own rhythm. When something is found, it is carried gently back, placed in a basket or a small container, handled with care so as not to damage it. Back at the home, the fire is lit again. The pot is brought forward. Water is added. And slowly, over the steady warmth of embers, the newly gathered food is prepared. Mushrooms are cleaned, cut into small pieces, cooked slowly. Berries may be added to porridge or preserved carefully for another day. Roots are washed and softened over the heat. Nothing is cooked too quickly. Nothing is wasted. Everything moves gently, following the quiet rhythm of life. Children may watch. Sometimes they help. They learn without instruction, by observing, by touching, by repeating what they see. There is no rush, no loud voices, no hurry. The forest, the home, the fire, all exist in a slow balance. Meals become richer with these small additions, but still they remain simple. The food is nourishing, warm, gentle. It is eaten slowly, with care, each bite taken without distraction. The day moves forward quietly. The light shifts, shadows lengthen. The air grows warmer or cooler depending on the season. Evening approaches with soft certainty. The fire glows low in the hearth. The pot rests above it. The last of the gathered foods are cooked gently. People eat slowly. Children sit nearby, learning the rhythm of quiet life. The smell of cooked mushrooms blends with the familiar scent of grains and vegetables. The taste is calm, steady, and satisfying. Once the meal is finished, the remaining items are stored carefully. Some are preserved for tomorrow. Some will last for days. The tools of the morning are cleaned. The baskets are set aside. The knives and ropes are hung in their places. The forest remains outside, quiet. The paths are empty. The village is calm. And as night deepens, the fire settles once more. The land, the food, the rhythm of daily life, they continue quietly together. There is no rush to sleep.
but a gentle closing of the day begins. A calmness spreads over the village and the surrounding land. The story moves on slowly, steadily, into the next part of this soft, continuous world. Morning spreads softly across the land once again. The light touches the rooftops of the village and filters through the branches of nearby trees. Leaves glisten with dew. The air carries the faint, earthy scent of soil and the quiet promise of a new day. Some foods come not from the ground, nor from the animals that are tended, but from the slow, steady growth of trees. The fruit trees, though small, are watched carefully. Plums, apples, pears, cherries. Each is noticed when it begins to change, to ripen quietly, without rush. People move slowly among the trees. Hands reach gently to pick what is ready. Some fruit is soft, easily bruised, requiring careful attention. Some is firmer, waiting patiently to be carried home. Nuts also hide within the branches or fall softly to the ground. Acorns, hazelnuts, chestnuts. They are gathered with care, picked up from the earth or shaken gently from the tree. The process is calm. There is no hurry. Every movement is deliberate. Once gathered, the fruit and nuts are carried back to the home. The baskets are heavy, but not so much that the hands cannot hold them steadily. Inside, the fire may already burn. A small pot sits near the embers, ready for water. Some fruits are cooked slowly. Plums or apples may be simmered gently, becoming soft and warm. Some are left raw, washed carefully, eaten slowly with each bite savored. Nuts may be roasted lightly over the embers. The smell rises quietly, blending with the familiar scent of cooking grains and vegetables. Children watch and sometimes help. They learn how to pick carefully, how to handle gently, how to prepare without waste. Meals now carry small variety, small change, a few berries added to porridge, a slice of fruit with bread, a handful of roasted nuts eaten slowly for nourishment. These foods are not abundant. They do not arrive all at once. They arrive quietly, in small amounts, and yet even in their modesty, they carry something important, a sense of season, a sense of rhythm, a gentle reminder of the slow, steady passage of time. The fire continues to burn low. The pot rests above the embers. Steam rises slowly, carrying the soft, calm scent of cooking. Meals are eaten without rush. Each bite is deliberate. Each bite is remembered. When the meal is finished, leftovers are stored carefully. Some fruit may be dried for later use. Some nuts are kept in a cool, dry place. Nothing is wasted. Everything is preserved. Outside, the village remains quiet. Paths are still. The trees sway gently in the breeze. Evening comes again with soft certainty. The light fades slowly. Shadows stretch across the ground. The fire settles once more, glowing quietly in the hearth. People rest. Children sleep nearby. The house holds warmth and calm, and the rhythm of life continues steadily. The foods of trees, of earth, of animals, they are all part of a slow, deliberate cycle. They arrive, are prepared, shared, and consumed, and then they rest, awaiting the next day. There is no rush, there is no hurry, only calm, gentle passage. And as night deepens, the world outside becomes still. The village rests under a blanket of quiet. The trees, the fields, the streams, they wait with patience. And so the story moves forward gently, always slow, always steady, always calm.
Morning stretches slowly across the village once again. The light is pale at first, brushing the rooftops, the narrow paths, and the edges of the river that winds quietly nearby. The water glimmers gently in the sun, moving without sound, except for the occasional ripple brushing against stones. For many people, the river is more than just a boundary or a place to cross. It is a source of quiet nourishment. Early in the day, someone walks toward the water. Barely a sound is made as their feet press softly into the soil of the riverbank. A simple basket is carried, sometimes a small net or a wooden pole with a line. The water flows steadily, shallow in some places, deep in others. Rocks rise above the surface, smooth and dark. The air carries the smell of damp earth, of fresh water, and of life moving slowly beneath the surface. Fishing is not hurried. There is no frantic splashing, no sudden movements. Hands reach carefully, nets are set gently, lines are cast slowly. Sometimes the catch is small, a few fish, enough for a single meal. Sometimes it is slightly more, but always it is carried carefully back to the village. The fish may be cleaned immediately, scaled and gutted over the riverbank or at the home. Water is used gently to wash them. The process is slow, deliberate. Back at the home, the fire awaits. A pot or pan is prepared. Water may be added, or the fish may be roasted over embers, turning occasionally to cook evenly. The smell rises softly, not strong, not sharp, just warm, familiar, gentle. Children watch, learning the quiet rhythm of handling food. Sometimes they help. They pass a small knife, or hold a basket, or stir slowly. The meal is simple. Fish, perhaps a few grains, maybe a small portion of greens. Nothing extravagant, nothing hurried. Each bite is taken slowly, chewed carefully, savoring the calm of the meal. Outside, the river continues to flow. It moves without effort, without sound except for its soft brushing against the banks. Water, like the food it provides, carries a quiet rhythm, steady, gentle, reliable. Some fish may be dried for later, laid out on racks, left to rest in the sun, preserved slowly. Even the smallest act, the placing of a fish into the basket, the careful turning over on the rack, is done without rush. And as evening approaches, the fire is lit once more. The pot rests quietly above the embers. The smell of cooking fills the home softly. The meal is eaten with calm deliberation. Hands move slowly. Children sit quietly. The body grows warm from food and fire alike. Outside, the river mirrors the evening sky, its surface smooth, reflecting light that fades gently. The village settles into quiet. Paths empty, doors close softly, and the rhythm of life continues. Food, water, fire, all moving in a slow, steady, unhurried cycle. As night deepens and the stars appear faintly above the village, the story drifts forward once more, quietly, calmly, slowly.